Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tim Yoon, and today we're going to be covering Firebase. So Firebase is a Google serverless backend system for you to persist your data, and it is incredibly powerful and flexible and can be a wonderful addition to any of your iOS apps. So today I'm going to kind of take you through the step-by-step process of how to incorporate that into a iOS app. The first step is to create an app in Xcode. I've called mine the Firebase Setup Demo, and I have my content view here with everything deleted except for just a hello world. Now that you have this, the next steps will involve going to the internet, and what we'll do is just look up Firebase like that, and go to the Firebase, and you will see something like this. And I've already logged in and so forth, so I'm just going to go straight to my console. And these are some of my personal projects, and I'm just going to create a new project, and we're going to call this let's call this demo. Okay, so we'll do continue, and then you can enable analytics. That's fine. You can turn it off, whatever, that's fine. All right, create a project. And this takes a bit of time for the app to kind of set up. Okay, now the project is ready. So I hit continue, and we've got something here. This is what we want. Next thing we want to do is on the demo, we're going to create an Apple, in other words, an iOS app. So we need to register the bundle ID. And here, what we have to do is go back to our app. And then we're going to go here and then look for our bundle identifier, which is right here under the Firebase demo general tab. And we're going to go here and just copy this bundle identifier and then go back to the web page. And here we go. And you can put a nickname if you want. Demo Fire App, Firebase app. Okay. And then we're just going to register the app. Click like this. And it takes a few seconds. And then we have to download this info.plist. And there it is. It's been put into my downloads folder. Going back to Xcode then, and then open up my downloads documents. There it is. And we're going to drag this into my app like that. And let's just go back to content view. Yep. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is go back to Google Chrome. And now that we've downloaded this and installed it into the app, we're going to hit next. And what do we have here? Well, what we need to do is get the Swift package manager, this particular URL, click like that. And then we go back to Xcode, and we're going to say file, add packages. And then we're going to do copy that Firebase. So here are some choices. I'm going to choose up to the next and major version, and we're going to add it to the Firebase setup demo. So here we go, add package. And this is going to take a little while for it to do all its thing. So while it's doing that, we can go back to Xcode. Sorry, not to Xcode, to the web browser, and hit next. And then you're going to see that there's some initialization code that we should add. So let's go back here and take a look and see what's going on. Aha, we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Firebase auth because we're going to need that later on. And I'm going to add Firebase FireStore as well as the Firebase FireStore Swift. And I'm going to add the other things later. So that's probably just good enough. Hit add packages. Now we're able to get back to Xcode and add in the code that we needed. So we'll copy this line of code and paste that in. Copy this. And we're going to go here and paste that in. Ooh. Let's just go back here and just copy all of this. There we go. And we're going to need to copy this line in. And that goes inside of the app main. So oh, wait a minute. We got to go back to here, actually, is where we need to put all this stuff in. There you go. That goes inside of app main. And this goes back to the main file right here. That's in the app file. Okay. And I need this line to get rid of that error. And that should do it. Fantastic. No more errors. We're good to go. I'm going to restore the content view back to the way it should be. So again, that goes into the app file. Okay, so now we got that going. And we're going to go back to the web and say next, and then we're going to go next. Wonderful. That's good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to build in a Firestore database. So you're going to go click on this one. And here we go. Create a database. And we can just start in test mode for now. Test mode. Next. And enable. And we've got a collection now. Boom. So now that the Firestore database has been set up, we can go back to Xcode. Okay, now that we have Firebase set up, it's time to do some coding in Xcode. So the first thing you're going to need is a model. And so let's just create a to-do model. And, we'll say that to-do has a couple things for our ID, and we'll set that equal to something. And we'll let it equal to string optional, and we'll make it UUID. And then there'll be a text that represents the string, and that'll be an empty array and is done, which will be set to false. So now when you have a to-do item like this or a model, we actually have to make it conform to the FB data service, okay? So this is the file that you should download from my GitHub that I will show the link down below in the comment section or the description section. And what you really need is to just download this file, and then you can use it as is. So there's a protocol called DataService, and it's identifiable, and the associated item will be identifiable and codable. So anything that conforms to that should work. We'll create another protocol called the Firebase model type, or FB model type. This needs to be identifiable and codable, and furthermore, the ID needs to be a string question mark or string optional ID, and that'll work just fine. In fact, I can modify this and just make this FB model type, and that should work fine too. So the Firebase service that I've created is this service right here. And I'm going to call this class Firebase DataService, and it's going to take in a generic type T, Firebase model type, observable, and it conforms to the data service. Now we can use this without creating this data service, but this will be useful later on for testing purposes if we do need to create other data services, such as a mock data service. So here we need a path that gets sent in the init factor in the initializer of this data service. And this string is going to be the name of the Firebase collection. Okay. And that collection is going to actually be this name right here. So we remember we created the Firebase data, and then here's a database, and here's the data. So I'm going to delete this for now, but eventually this to-do list is the name of the path, i.e. the name of the data set, shall we call it, that gets used. Okay, so we're going to give it a path name, and then there's a private let store, and that's going to be the FireStore.Firestore, an instance of that. And then the Firebase data service will publish an array of items of type T. And so the initializer then is going to be path with the string self.path equals path. Get data from Firebase. Now, what is this function? Well, let's go take a look at that. Get data from Firebase uses something called store.collection. Remember, this is the variable that we created here to hold an instance of the FireStore. Funny name that, FireStore. The store.collection, and it requires a path. And then you create something called an add snapshot listener. And what this does is that anytime there are changes in the Firebase, it will call this completion function. And there's a snapshot and error. If error, then print the error, else it will update the items that belong to that document or that collection, okay? Collection of documents. So then the other functions, add item is going to be a do catch, try store.collection path, add a document from item. Okay, so for now, we're just going to call this a fatal error, but in the future, this could be modified to throw an error, and you can handle the error in the future. Delete, similarly, you're going to make sure that you can get that document ID, because that's an optional string. And then it sends that ID into a store.collection path document. So document ID, and then deletes that ID document that corresponds to the ID. And if there's an error, it'll handle this error here. But again, this could be a throwing function later on if you prefer to do it that way. But for simple apps, I found that you don't even need to do that. And then here's the update function, guardlet document ID equals item.id, else return. And then it'll do this try store.collection path.document ID.set data from item, which is using the store, the collection at this path, select this document based on the document ID, and set the data from the item using this item. That's what this means. So basically you get this function and this class, and then we're going to use it in content view. And how do we use that? Well, here we go. So we're going to make this to do conform to the FB model type. And you're going to decorate this with @document ID. Now, to do that, we need to import Firebase FireStore. And let's see, Swift. Yes, Firebase FireStore Swift is what you need to be able to bring in this property wrapper @document ID. And now this model is done, and then we need to create a view model next. So class, we'll call this a to-do list view model. It's going to be of type observable object. And it's going to have an at published private set var, and it'll have to-dos, be an array of to-do. And of course, that's going to be an empty array to start with. It's going to have an initializer. And we're going to inject in the data service. Now here, since we're going to do dependency injection, we'll say DS is going to be of type data service. In fact, it'll be, yes. So it'll be of type data service. And so we're going to have to close this off like this. And now the thing is, it's going to be where the data service dot item going to be equal to the to-do item. And so then we can say if it's going to be of type data service. And we also need something to hold this data service. It'll be a private let data service is going to be of type data service. And now we're going to say, sorry, this should be of DS, right? DS is not just any data service. It's a data service where data service that item is equal to to-do. So now that's why we have to use capital DS here. Next, we're going to say self.ds equals DS. Okay, so that's good. The next thing we're going to do is say ds.getData, and that's the function that publishes the data that we want from Firebase, and we're going to sync it into the proper variable. And we're going to say if there is an error, we're just going to do a fatal error for now instead of doing anything fancy for this demo. And we'll say this is a weak self, just in case there is no self and we don't want to have retained cycles. And then this will be to-dos. And so that means it'll be self question mark dot, because self is optional, that to-dos equals to-dos, like so. Then we have to store this subscription. So we'll create a private var cancellables, and that's going to equal to a set of any cancellables. But we don't have combine, so we'll have to import combine here. Cancellables, and that should be what holds our subscription, and it's going to be .store, and you're going to store it in the cancelable. So this stores a subscription. Without doing that, this subscription would go away, and this combine would not work. Okay, the next thing we're going to need is the CRUD functions. Now remember, the read part of this CRUD function is here. The publish variables is set as a private set so that you can only read from it. Now we're going to need the rest of the CRUD functions. So it'll be func add, and we'll add a to-do, and it'll be a to-do. And here is very simple. We say ds add to-do, and that's our to-do function. And then we'll say func update to-do. It will be just, again, really simple. It'll be ds.update the to-do. And then finally, we need a delete function. Delete, and it'll be an index set index index set. And oh, I see a little typo here, func. All right, so what we're going to do here is a little bit different. The data service does not have an index set removal. So what we'll do is just create a little thing here where we'll create a var calls to delete. to-dos to delete. Let's say to-dos to delete will be an array of to-dos, okay? And initially will be empty array. Next, what we'll do is create a for loop for index in index set. We'll say, little typo, to-dos right here, fix that. We're going to say to-dos dot append. So going to append the to-dos index at the index. And that will fill up our this empty array with the to-dos that need to be deleted. And then we'll do for, I can't seem to type here, for to-do in to-dos to delete. And we're going to say ds.delete, and the item to delete will be to-dos to delete at the index. Sorry, it'll be at the to-do. Sorry, to-do. Simply just to-do. This is to-do from here, and that should do all the deleting. Okay. Now we have that view model here. We can get to work. I'm just going to collapse this down for now. And here we go. So we need to create an at state object var VM, and it's going to be equal to the to-do list view model. And what is the data service that this needs? It's going to be the FB data service, which requires a path. And the path, we'll call it to-do list. Okay, and we'll do a very simple app right here. So we're going to say navigation stack, and we'll call it, let's see, we'll have a list for each VM.todos. We'll get a to-do and then bring it in. And here we will just, for now, text to-do.text. Good. And we'll see navigation title will be to-dos. And let's see if that pops up what we need right there. And then we need to be able to, it's already connected to Firebase. So what we'll do is we'll give it an on delete, perform vm.delete, like so. And let's see if that'll delete it. Boom, and boom, it's deleted it. Very nice, so easy. And then we want to be able to add. So we'll say VM, sorry, toolbar. And then we'll create a button to just add an empty to-do. So we'll say on the actual BVM.add, and it'll just be an empty or a new to-do item. And then the text will be add. So the other thing we need to do here is show that it'll be an H stack. And we'll just show an image, system name, and then is done. We'll do a ternary operator. If it is done, it'll just give it a check mark that circle. Else it'll be a circle, like so. Okay, now, I'm getting a little error. Cannot find is done. So the is done is to-do that is done. That should fix that problem. And that should add it. And let me just, if I add a, yeah, you get an empty to-do item, which is fine for our purposes right now. Let me create a quick little thing so that I can actually edit this. Okay, so let me create that. Be class, not class struct. to do view, be a view. Maybe we'll call it a to do row view. Okay. And the way it's going to work is you're going to get a to do item, and it needs a var body, and the var body will have a h stack, and it will have a text field. But before we do that, we'll say at state private var, and we'll just call it a VM, and it will be set to an empty to do to start with. But inside this h stack, what I'll do is I'll create a on appear. So on appear, we'll say that the to do is equal to, sorry, the VM actually, VM is equal to the to do that was passed to this view. And here we'll say, we'll just copy this over right here, like so, boom. And then instead of, so to make this editable, we'll say on tap gesture, we're going to say to do dot is done. And we're going to say dot toggle. Okay. Now we need to save this. So we need a save function. And so we'll just save the to do like so. So the save function, we're going to pass to it is a var save, and it's going to be a to do and returns nothing like so. Okay. So then this one can be a text field, and it's going to say this default label will be to do item, and then it'll be a text and $string vm.text. Yeah, good. And then we'll make this text field style of dot rounded border, and then we're going to say dot on change of what's going to change is the view model is going to change. Then you're going to say that you're going to save the view model, or the new value rather. That's fine. Okay. And this is complaining because it wants the to do to be a equatable. So we'll just add that right there. And I think that should work. Should be a view model, not the, okay, here we go. That error goes away. So the to do row view should now work. And so what we'll do is just add this right in here. And it'll be the to do, and we're going to say the save. Okay, the save is going to be view model.update. Yeah, just like that, update. And so what we have is delete, we have the ability to add something, and we have the ability to update something. So we'll type something in here and say, first item, and then that should save automatically, because anytime this text is changed, it's going to change this. Now, I use this on change of like this just for this demo purpose, but really you shouldn't be doing this. You should be a little bit more efficient. So now let's see, I'm going to go ahead and run this. So if you go back to the to-do list, this is in the Firebase, and you refresh Firebase, what you'll see is to do, and it's got this one thing, and it's that first item that we had. Isn't that cool? All right, so what we can do is just delete this collection to begin with. So to do list, and we can just delete that so we can have an empty. Now, when we delete that, we should get an empty thing over here in our simulator, which we do. We hit add. And let's see now, what we should do is refresh this, and it should create a to-do list, and it's empty, right? So then if we add something here like hello, voila, it updates in the Firebase. You can see that in the web browser. Okay, and we can check this mark, and that turns true, just like that. And so we know that this is persisting, and we can check that by killing the app and restarting, and there you go, it's still persisting. So guys, this is how you can easily add Firebase FireStore functionality to your apps. Go ahead and go to my GitHub and download the necessary files. I'll put it up there for you to use. Okay, take care now. See you in the next episode.